All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody listening and everybody who's watching this afterwards. Welcome to another one of the Wiser series podcasts that we're doing. As always, shout out to the Wiser crew, shout out to Gabrielle for putting this on, and on my side, shout out to Jen for helping coordinate the heck out of this darn thing. Thanks again. We are going to have a little bit of fun and some interesting conversations about the CISO side of the world today, and taking a look at it from several different areas. One, we have two amazing CISOs with us. We also have aspiring CISOs, and then we have poor Renee, who's trying to fill all the darn CISO roles and make sure that people actually stay in there for more than 5 minutes. So I'm going to shut up for a minute. I normally say ladies first, but I've got a choice, which is huge, and I'm loving it. So I'm just going to say, Olivia, please lead us away if you don't mind.
This never happens. So women on a security webinar. What are you going to do, Chris?
That's right. That's right. Yes. How does it feel to be a minority, Chris?
I'm friggin' loving it. This is how it should be.
Should we start women's-plaining?
Well, this is what it's really like. So.
Oh, hell yes. Oh man.
Hi, everybody. My name is Olivia Rose. I'm an old dog in security. I've been in security for about 18, 19 years at this point. Most of my background was I started off in marketing, and then most of my background in security has been in consulting. Then a few years ago, I went to the dark side and I became a CISO for MailChimp. And then now I am at Amplitude, which is the world's leading product analysis platform, and it's awesome. I'm very happy there. So I'm super glad to be here.
I forgot you were over at MailChimp. I totally spaced on that one. That's freaking, yeah, that was pretty awesome. Renee, if you don't mind, please lead us off next.
Sure. Super excited to be here again. I am Renee Small, Cybersecurity Super Recruiter, helping awesome leaders hire great talent. And I host a podcast called Breaking Into Cybersecurity. And I'll share with Chris that this is an awesome panel because we started a leadership panel talking to CIOs, CTOs, and CEOs focused on hiring CISOs. So I have a couple of nuggets from that I think will be very, very interesting during this conversation.
Yeah, that's going to be totally cool. Kate, if you don't mind, please, you're up.
Hi, so I actually started from the accounting side and moved to internal audit, IT, and then information security, and have landed here as the thing I love. So I've been doing information security for a long time and have been a CISO at a lot of places. So I'm one of those people that does the CISO hopping. My first gig was Tampa Airport, and then I've been pretty consistently in hospital systems, including Adventist Health out west. So that's the largest organization I've been in, and I'm currently at Health Map Solutions. When I started 2 years ago, I started as their vCISO with 20 employees, and we're now at 150 and gonna double again before the end of the year. So Health Map Solutions does chronic kidney disease. So we do major data analytics, as well as we have a workforce that does teleconferencing with patients trying to help those with chronic kidney disease. So
nice. And that's crazy doubling in this year as well, especially, I mean, we'll have that conversation. I really want to get into that because the vCISO to CISO and then the doubling is, I mean, talk about numerous different headaches going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And especially in a world that is highly regulated, and we have a lot of certifications in place. So it's mind-numbing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Niles, you're up, please.
Yes, sure. Thanks, everyone. Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me on the show today. Like he said, my name is Niall Spelshak, and my experience in IT comes from a broad range of disciplines, from networking to designing data centers and implementing data centers. I have done some implementation of virtualized data centers for many years. And then I had a customer who actually asked me to put security in their data center and actually test it. And that is how I got into security. Because shortly after that, I became paranoid about security. And so currently, I work for Cisco Systems. I drive cloud security adoption, which is really huge for me. I totally enjoy what I do because, as you know, cloud adoption is accelerating, and obviously things are changing in the IT world. And no matter where your data center is, no matter where your assets are, we need security. And so super excited about what I'm doing currently, but I really wanted to explore about what CISO is. And so that's why I'm super excited about this particular event.
Totally. And I apologize. Well, I'm not going to apologize. He's my wolf mutt and he's my buddy, but he's just leaked all over me. So yeah, I love slobber.
This is pandemic. So, we rolled and we go.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. Yeah, and normally he comes in at one side looking for biscuits in the middle of a conference, but it is what it is. All right, so we, I think, have a pretty awesome team because we've got coming into the CISO role, looking for CISO people and people in CISO roles. Let's ask a couple of the, actually, you know, I really want to actually get into the, is it worth it? I think we're going to open with that one. We've had so many conversations and we see, unfortunately, the CISO really is at the tip of the spear, no two ways about it. Especially when it comes to the congratulations, you've been breached. For good or for bad, the CISO tends to be the one that is at that pointy end and is the one that's under scrutiny. I'm really interested as to whether the CISO is worth it. And I think I'm going to start with the two CISOs, and then I want to talk to Renee. Renee, you got to sell this to people, which I'm really interested in. Niles, you're like, I really want to do this.
No, I do. I really want to hear. I don't want to do it, but I want to hear it from the panelists. I want to hear about this because it's something that I faced and I hear about it often. So I'm here.
Yeah, totally. So Kate, I'm going to fire off with you if you don't mind, because you've had an amazing route into it. You've come from the non-geek side of the world into it through the vCISO, CISO role. So Kate, if you don't mind, and then Olivia, you're up next.
Yeah. So to just so getting into it, I mean, part of it is I've been a hacker since I was a child. So when I was going to college, I went to a small college that didn't actually have any technical classes. So I kind of backed into it. And the other thing is I have a deep love of social engineering, and that's where my challenge coins lie.
Hence
so
Chris. Yep.
Yeah. So the way I got into it is a little bit backwards, and part of it is because in accounting I was seeing things broken, and when I went into audit I was making recommendations that people ignored, and then when I got into IT I was fixing things but not well. It was really very slipshod in terms of what priorities were, because it was mostly based on people screaming. And because I already had a risk and governance background, it was like, holy, you know, guys, let's have a better approach. And that's how I wound up in information security, which I dearly love because I actually get to fix things or help people fix things or help them with the arguments of. So layering that governance in, the risk in, and then the doing in. But part of it is now that I'm in the CISO role, which, okay, maybe I have issues because I do love it, but I do hate it. And part of it is that
don't be honest, Miss Kate.
Always brutally. That is one of my problems in my role. But part of it is that it is where the CISO reports within the organization that determines its success. If you are not reporting to the board or the CEO, then there is significant gaps in what you do. So being part of an executive leadership team and having that C in CISO mean that you are part of that executive leadership team versus being a CISO who reports way down the chain makes a big difference in terms of your success. So one of the things is, I mean, we talk about CISOs a lot, and a lot of those CISOs are what I don't know, have been called TISOs, technical information security officers, reporting to CIOs or CTOs. And then you have BISOs, which are, you know, the business side. And a CISO is so much more. So if you can find a role as a true CISO with an organization that appreciates it, then when the breach happens, you can survive it. Anybody else, you are more than likely a scapegoat. And for us who are CISOs, generally it's 14 months in a row that we don't stay in positions long. It is a high move. You know, anybody that's offering you a 401k with a match after 5 years, it's like, that's nice. I'm never seeing that.
Right. Yeah, it's I'm interested. The timeline is an interesting one. Olivia, if you don't mind, give me some thoughts on that one, please, because obviously you've been doing this for a while now.
I would say it takes a certain personality. I love being a CISO. There are days that I don't love it as much, but it gets me out of bed in the morning. It's exciting. Now, if you don't have this type of personality where you enjoy having things thrown at you, you have to be quick to respond, you have to be on your feet, you have to try to see the future and sense what's coming. If you don't have a certain type of personality, you are not going to enjoy it, and therefore you may leave. One of the reasons you may leave within 14 to 18 months is to see if the grass is greener somewhere else, and it typically isn't. I'm very happy right now. I love Amplitude. I could see myself there for a very long time, but that is because, Kate, I have that support, but it took me a long time to find that. I would say, people ask me all the time, how do I know if I want to be a CISO, and why did you become a CISO, and what drives you? And I'm very transparent about this. I grew up with a family who honestly never thought I was going to amount to anything. I was never pushed to do anything. I was never thought I was going to end up being much. And I think that put a fire in me where I get up every day and I'm like, I'm going to prove people wrong. And I think security has been a great field for me because being female, being in this industry for 18 years, you are doubted. You walk into a room and I have all these certifications on my business card, or I used to, I don't anymore, because now I'm tip at this. But before becoming CISO, I had to have all these certifications because the men got instant cred, but yet because I'm female, I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, she's got her CISSP. Oh, she's got this. Oh, okay, we'll give her a chance. And so that fed into that hunger for the drive to prove people wrong. And I love, and I thrive on that. So if you have that type of fire in you, you will love this type of role. However, to wrap the whole thing up, if you like to step back and not be the ringleader and the mastermind, and you don't like attention, run. Because
yes,
it's a lot of grand mastering.
It definitely seems to be. Yeah, that's, I know from the VC, so from I'm also intrigued in something I want to unpack in a little bit, if you don't mind, and we'll do that with everybody else. Is I know when I first remember looking at it, there was very much, there were almost two CISO roles. There was the tactical CISO role, which literally was parachute in, fix all the shit, and then get the hell out of there. And there was that much more like strategic, the civilized CISO, the one that actually came in, you know, shook babies, kissed hands, and was a little bit more civilized and actually got on with people rather than just said, all right, you got to get your shit together. That seems to have changed a lot more. In fact, it just seems to be a complete tactical lunacy. Renee, I want you to unpack this one a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was literally just doing research on this part, the different types of CISOs, because to Olivia's point, to Kate's point, where you come in, who you report to makes such a difference. Where the company is, how mature the company is when it comes to their security program is important in the type of CISO that they look for. So I was looking at this report from Forrester that was done last year, and they came out with 6 different types of CISOs: the transformational CISO, the post-breach CISO, the tactical operational CISO, the compliance and risk guru, the steady state CISO, so that's your kissing babies and keeping everything afloat, and the customer facing evangelist. And it made perfect sense. based on the type, the size of the company, the type of the company, how far along the company is with their security program, if you're coming in to start up a program versus take over from someone else. And to Kate's point and to Olivia's point, when you talk about the turnover, I mean, I'm just nodding everything you're saying, because people get into these different roles, and if you're not fully understanding which role you're going into, that can be a huge challenge, because you could be like, oh, I'm going in. I mean, usually you know if you're post breach, and you know if you're some of these other ones, but if you're really super technical, excuse me, and you're going into a compliance and risk role and not fully understanding, like, oh, I'm going into this, into this space where I'm not going to be as technical. I'm going to be more, doing risk analysis and talking to the business and really interacting with the business side. That's a different set of skills. It's a different focus on what people want to do. So it's really, I love these perspectives. And I also, what I want to add too is, I love that Kate, what really, really, really excites me about this particular panel is that Olivia, who we've talked a number of times, and Olivia's been on my podcast, but Olivia came up through marketing. Olivia has this business background. Kate came up through accounting. And I think people like look over that. They immediately think, oh, everybody is, tech, and not fully understanding why someone like a Kate or an Olivia is even in the spot. I remember with, was it the Experian situation? Was it Experian with
it was Equifax.
Equifax.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, it's not Experian yet, but
yeah,
but I haven't heard.
So Equifax, where the former CISO, I think she had a music degree or something, and people were like, oh, and this big blow up, right?
Yeah.
And and it's like people come from varying backgrounds because they bring different types of skills, and every single CISO is not a super, every single CISO is not somebody that's tech all the way up. So
I want to actually add a quick, hold the thought for 2 seconds, and I promise you can ask. How many of you have got degrees?
In just general?
Just degree. I don't give a damn what in. All right, so I'm the least educated person here. I love that. It makes me really happy, even better. Yeah. How many of you got degrees in this industry, or even close to what this industry is these days? Oh, good. That makes me even happier.
I do have an IT degree, so.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. What were you saying, Olivia? Sorry.
My degree was women's studies.
Ooh. Okay, so you come at it from the human side of things. All right.
Well, and my degree, my undergrad was accounting, but my master's is in business.
Yeah.
And to saying we're not technical, here's the thing. Olivia and I have CISSPs, okay? Yeah. And I have a TACO. I, like Olivia, in order to combat so much mansplaining, I have a stack of certifications, most of which I let lapse because I was trying to prove something that, you know what, in retrospect, I should have moved organizations to places where women were supported. Yeah, but they were much harder to find back then. They really were.
Yeah.
Let me, Niles, go for it, please. You had questions, and I want to get your thoughts on this one as well, definitely on the challenges that you see as you're going into that role. Get your question, and then I'd love your thoughts on like what challenges you're seeing as you're moving towards the role.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of ask a couple of questions to Renee and Olivia. The first thing I'm going to go to Renee is about the different types of CISO that you just mentioned from the Forrester studies. You mentioned quite a number of them. And my question to you is this. When a CISO is getting hired, does the organization clearly state the type of CISO that is getting hired, or you have to ask questions through those interviews to ascertain, what that role is? Or, and then, or are there many different types of Cisco for organizations playing these different roles?
You have to ask. You have to be the one. Every company thinks that they want a specific type of person, and I think that's the case from the CISO coming all the way down. As a recruiter, I have to kind of fish out from them what's happening, what's going on in the organization, what type of person, what's this person like? What's that person like? So I'm doing a whole analysis of the team when I'm doing an intake for any type of role. I want to know who the person's going to be reporting to. Who are their peers? Who are they going to be, who's beneath them? Are they replacing someone? Why? So there's all of these questions that come into understanding the type of role that it is. And then taking that and then going out and reaching out to a Kate and an Olivia, because Olivia is not going to be a fit for something, it's all really focused on fit. And you have leaders that they've run huge organizations. They're CISOs and they are in Fortune 100, Fortune 500, or banking institutions. Unless they say, hey, I'm so tired of this thing and I want to go over and work in a startup, it's likely not going to mesh. So it's looking at it from both sides, looking at it from what the person is looking to do next in their career, and it's also looking at it from what the organization is looking to do. So in Niles, for Niles in particular, since you're coming up, it's kind of thinking through, what kind of CISO do I think I would want to be, and what kind of an organization do I think I would want to be in? Because those conversations are just so important. And then, to Kate's point, the 14 months, and to Olivia's point, you just think that the grass is greener, but it might just not be the right fit.
And that's an excellent point, Renee, is you have to know yourself. Everyone has branding. When I mentor youngins in this field, nobody knows what their brand is. So you have to get 3 to 5 ways to describe yourself. Who are you? What makes you so special? And then on LinkedIn, try to get pictures showing that. But I think that's key to what Renee said, is like, I would never put myself into a very large organization because I don't work well in very large organizations and I'm going to fail. Very critical to you.
That's a really interesting one. Actually, Aaron was playing devil's advocate, and I am interested in it because they were like, we shouldn't be talking about different types of CISOs. There's only one type. Everything else should be different roles and different titles. And I've got to admit, I actually disagree with that. I love the idea of that, and I think it used to be a CISO, but because companies are transforming, because organizations, we see CEOs change depending upon whether it's a transitional company, a steady state company, all these things. And I really do believe, and I know, Olivia, I'm with you, I wouldn't work well in a large organization like a multinational. I know I'm not good at steady state. I love shit when it's on fire. I'm happier that way for whatever reason. That I don't know why the brain works that way, but it's happy when everything's on fire. So I think I'm in that camp as well, but it's really interesting seeing this one that should only be one role, because I don't think there is. 15, 20 years ago, maybe. Now, no chance.
There's no way. And Chris, companies evolve. Like I was talking to a leader, and they had a CISO, but they outgrew their CISO, so they were looking to bring in another bigger, we're like, okay, this person was great for the first 5 years, never 5 years, the first 3 years, or whatever the case is, right? For this period of time.
Wait, I thought it was 14 months.
Well, in some places you can get a little bit more, but between, it's typically around 14 to 28. About 3 years is like, whoa, you've been there a long time. But a lot of some of the organizations, you talk to a leader and they'll say, we've outgrown this. This person was great for the tactical, like when they did need someone to come in and convert, move to the cloud, or anything that's really technical, right? So they put in the SIM, they did all these technical things, and now I can't put this person in front of a board. I can't, I'm looking for someone who, they're not really the type of person that I can connect with the other VPs in the organization, or the business side, right? So then you get to someone like Olivia or Kate, that they've been in the business, they know the business. Kate coming from accounting, I mean, that it's just like, it's hand in hand. So I need someone like a Kate. I need someone now like an Olivia. I had this other person, he was great or she was great for this period of time, but now we've evolved. So, you got to take that into consideration as well, that humans evolve, we evolve, the companies evolve, the role evolves, it all evolves.
And to jump on what Renee's saying, part of it is that the Forrester report, as far as it goes, great. But one of the things is, a lot of the CISO roles take elements of those various things. So you need to be a little, are you a little bit of this? Are you a little bit of that? They're not really strictly defined. And the other reason why a lot of CISOs move is organizational change. So when you start looking at the executive management leadership changes, and when it changes, all of the direct reports go. When you look at organizations that are required, I mean, one of the things is that if you're a CISO, you're actually part of that acquisition process. You're actually helping with the due diligence. You know your company's about to be acquired, and if you're acquired by somebody bigger, likely are working yourself out of a job. You may be an early mover because guess what? I know my job's going away. I'm going to find an opportunity before I get pushed out the door. So some of the reasons for its CISO movement is kind of hidden in our roles.
Let me ask a question, and actually, this is Niles, if you don't mind. I mean, you're coming into this. I mean, you're sitting there going, okay, this is where I want to go. What guidance are you seeing out there to help you make those selections, to help you figure out the business? I mean, we're talking about a lot of the conversation here is bruises, to be honest, is bumps and bruises and going, okay, I don't know anything formal. Is there anything you've seen or anything formal that you've seen that would help you actually be ready for this? It would help you from a human standpoint, from a business standpoint, from a technical standpoint. Is there anything out there that's actually helping you like make a decision? Where do I want to be and how do I want to be in this role?
Yes, that's a great question. For me, I like to take initiative. And so having considered CISO, I have done a lot of Googling. So there's a lot of Googling that has taken place, and I haven't find that one particular certification that I need to take. I mean, CISSP, I've seen all of these, but there's no exact career pathway in terms of certification. And, when I hear about the different types of CISO, I'm wondering, man, I'm going to have to be in security for about 5 years, play these different hats before I get there. But then I think about what Olivia said about the desired traits of a CISO. And I'm like, that's a woman, that's a mother. And I'm super excited to even see this women, on the panel, because I've never met any female CISO. None.
There are.
Thank you.
Oh, there are a lot.
There are
a lot.
Yeah.
Not as many as there needs to be, but there are a lot.
But there are a
Yeah,
lot.
more
Yeah.
than expected. And may I say something that is going to irritate a lot of people, not everybody on this call, but is going to upset some people. And of course, I'm generalizing and stereotyping, which is fantastic. I think personally, the majority of the time, women make better CISOs.
When you were explaining the responsibilities of a CISO and just the traits, I immediately thought, well, I do that just trying to get to the store, with the humans that I have in the home. And then I think about my job and things of that nature and the skills I've picked up along the way from my, in my years of experience. And so I naturally thought, well, are there many women? How come I haven't found any? So it's really interesting that you're saying that, being that you studied women.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, but not exactly on that point. So I put a post out for the official 1 day out of 365 that women get to say thank you. And the post it wasn't a thank you to women, to be perfectly honest. It was an apology, because for 364 days, apparently we don't really think about it. And the post was looking along the lines of, I see, and I was reading the comments and how many women are making it harder for more women to coming into those leadership roles. I mean, it's bad enough that you're seeing it with the men. What the heck is going on? I want to see, I mean, Olivia, in fact, all four of you, I'm actually really interested as to how many of you have had challenges with women helping you in the role, or I mean, I'm intrigued in this one. I'm trying to unpack that one, to be perfectly honest. Have you seen, I mean, there's definitely, you've got the mansplaining, no two ways about it, but I'm really intrigued because you're right, there aren't as many women in the industry. There's not as many people, we don't have the diversity no matter which way you look at it. So I'm like, okay, if you're in that role and you are in the minority, why the hell aren't you helping more and more and more? So I want to know whether it was that was just an anomaly or if it's normal. So anybody want to unpack that one?
let me woman explain this to you.
Go for
So women, and of course I'm generalizing again, women are brought up to have this natural competition, right? You know, we got to look out for ourselves. And I think once you reach a certain point of maturity, and only then, and I speak for myself as well, you begin to realize that you're stronger when you have your family of people like you. And that's when you start supporting other women and other women support you. I'm very fortunate. I have a very strong network of women leaders, it's senior leaders and CISOs. But I had to start it. And everyone who joins is just flabbergasted and so excited to have this family because we have pressures that other people don't necessarily. We have pressures such as perfectionism, or we get overwhelmed because I'm a mom of 2 kids, 8 and 10, and you know, I've got a lot of stuff on my plate going on right now. I'm not saying men don't, it's just there's different pressures. You've got to have your family. So I don't know, I'm guessing that those comments came from more younger women. I don't know, I don't recall seeing them, but I think it's important to recognize that women have your back. And the higher you go up the management ladder, the more critical it is to open those doors. And I think in our case, Kate, right, we're bashing our heads against walls for the younger generation of women. We've had a tough time. It has not been easy. My career has been full of bumps and bruises. I mean, it's been brutal, but I've hung on. But I did that to make it easier for women who were coming up behind me. And so I make an extra effort every week. I talk to 3 or 4 younger women who are in this field or having a tougher time, or underrepresented minorities as well, because it's so critical to recognize that this is a field that you will be good at and to give back. And again, I think it comes with a certain maturity level.
And I will counter that. I have had the people that have been more likely to sabotage me or not stop others from sabotaging me have been women. And there have been cases where I've been on a team of all men and all of the men got pay raises and promotions and I didn't, and things like that. I mean, my history is just, I mean, tons of those. And I too do a lot of volunteer work, and I work to hire women in information security and train them and encourage them. And I also advocate with the men I know to help women, because guess what? We're not getting there without men. We really aren't. They are 50% of the population, okay? And the thing is,
they're fantastic supporters. I'm sorry to interrupt.
They are. So the biggest supporters I've had in my career have all been men. Women are getting better at helping other women, but if you see, you know, you're in an environment where women are not being supported, I really do highly encourage moving. And I will tell you, you know, some of my turnover has been, I've been in organizations where I have been told, we have hired you at the max we can hire you for, and then I find out they've hired men in with backgrounds that are less credentialed than me for more money. And guess what? I start looking. I have repeatedly been in positions where I have been replaced with people with backgrounds that were not as strong as me, and they got significantly more pay than I did. Because guess what? People do talk. So, I mean, there is a lot of that is still going on. So part of it is valuing yourself and finding women that will help you, and recognizing the ones that don't are still in junior high.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Renee, if you don't mind, give me your thoughts on this one. Again, to me, you're at the tip of like finding the right people for the right places. No two ways about it. What do you say?
And I've seen them both, and I've been a part of both. I've seen, you know, what Kate described. I've been in situations where me personally, with leaders that I was told were threatened by me, or, you know, from the outside looking in, it's like, you're threatening. I was like, who, me? They're like, well, you know, these people, like, me, I'm threatening? Who am I threatening to? But it could look like, you know, if you're convicted in what you know your stuff, you are outspoken, or, you know, you know, exhibit characteristics that are quote unquote more like men, like you are going to speak up, you are going to, you know, do what you need to do. And that's purely, like, for me, that's kind of like, even from the HR perspective, working in organizations where people were like, well, we don't, you know, it's always something. And the men were the ones to be more supportive and say, oh yeah, well, we want her to work with us. You know, she's great, she's a driver, you know, all the things that they say with women. It's like, oh, women are you know, the different types of characteristics, or they'll say bossy versus assertive or whatever. And you will have men that are like, oh, well, we like her, you know, we want her over here. So I've seen both sides of this, and I've seen it personally, but you know, when it comes to what Olivia was talking about, and Kate, when it comes to the mentorship, like, I think about Naomi Buckwalter, who was another awesome CISO that's part of our CISO series. She is, you know, talking to young people all the time and bringing up women. And I mean, there's so many women who are doing it, who are bringing up the younger women in the field. So I kind of, I'm leaning towards more of what Olivia said. Like, there probably is something where, you know, on a younger side where it's really competitive and everyone's trying to edge each other out to get up to the top. But at the top, I see so many women pouring back into other women and reaching up and pulling them up. So I see both sides of it.
Yeah, that's seems to be a bunch going. All right, so I'm bringing this back into. You might have noticed we got a few questions coming into this, which is getting kind of crazy, and I'm actually loving it. I'm loving the questions coming in on this one. Let's talk. Actually, Renee, I'm Renee, and then Niles, if you don't mind. I want to ask you questions. If, as companies are looking for a CISO role, we've got the 6 different types, but what are you seeing as far as requirements? I'm really interested in this one. What are you seeing for what people are looking for, how they're looking for it, how realistic they are in looking for it?
Yeah.
Renee, if you would mind, and then Niles, I'm going to ask you, because you're obviously looking at that side of the world too.
Sure. And I think it really, again, depends on the maturity, depends on the size. You know, there's so many, and I don't work for every single company, but, you know, the ones that I've seen, or, you know what, I'll tell you about some CIOs and CTOs that have come on our podcast, because hearing from them is really, really important. And I like to take it directly from the horse's mouth. So some of the things that they said that they look for when you're looking to promote someone, so when you're in an organization or they're looking to bring somebody from the outside in, and it goes back to that business side. So when Kate talks about, you know, the MBA, that's very important, because a lot of people don't realize. I think there was a CIO, he was a CIO that came on one of our podcasts back in December. Saeed, I can't remember his last name, but he talked about how when he's looking at security folks and who he's going to promote or what he needs, he said, you know, people get really excited. You know, I have the security team, and some of the folks on the team, they get their certification, you know, they go to their boot camp and they come back and they just want to change everything, you know, they're excited. And he's like, well, we have a tech stack, we have a business, like, we can't just jump into this stuff. And so, you know, really fully understanding security is there to support. Like, you can't just go off, you know, you're not a security organization, you're an organization, and security is part of the organization. So people not fully understanding, like, the business impact, how, you know, it seems as though he said that the 360 view, the really understanding, like, the business side, like, how is this going to impact all of these different areas if we drop in this new one thing, if we change this policy, you know? So that was one of the things that I think the overarching kind of theme, like, really understanding the business side, because people feel like, oh, I'm more technical in such and such. Like, why am I not getting a promotion? You know, I know everything, I have every cert, all that stuff. But when it gets to a certain level, it's influencing with authority. It's having the leadership skills. It's the soft skills component that really is going to be what these leaders have said, some of the leaders have said, have made the difference. Another person had come on the podcast, and he also, I asked him about budgets too, because I'm always like, why is it, why don't you want to pay your CISO? Why is the budget so cheap? And in this person's company, security was just keep the lights on. He was like, it's supposed to work when it works. As far as these leaders are concerned, in his particular company, this isn't everywhere. In his particular company, he's like, it's like the help desk. When I call, somebody's supposed to be there to answer. Security is supposed to work when it works. So for us, we're not going to get this big, huge budget. We can't drop in everything. We can't bring in the next shiny object. That's not our space. So kind of, again, understanding, and I think the ones that I've spoken with, it's all been that kind of like, folks, you cannot focus all on technology. It's much bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. So that would be like my big takeaway from like all the folks that I've spoken to over the years.
Niles, give me your thoughts on, and actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to add something extra onto you. It's got a a bunch of questions from people who are coming at this from a very, very technical role. And listening to you, it sounds like you have got some serious technical skill. So my question is how do you learn the business skill? How do you absorb that? How do you understand that? What are you doing to like broaden it so you can walk in and not go, hey, I'm going to do one thing and change the business? Give me some thoughts on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, so as I've looked at some of these roles, what I'm seeing a lot of is a lot of years of experience. And sometimes I wonder a lot about the years of experience because, oftentimes I do think years of experience is important in a variety of roles, but sometimes I think it's a huge, prohibitor for allowing people to actually make their way into the role. In terms of someone like myself who has been super technical, currently in my role, I'm moving towards the kind of strategic part where I am, driving adoption and understanding the business aspect and driving the solutions that actually rolls into the product. I'm beginning to gain that experience. And so what am I doing? Personally, I feel like I need to build strategic relationships with different kind of people. Like, maybe a director who's working in CTI or, threat intelligence, someone who's in compliance and kind of have them mentor me or get to learn about their role and their risk and how they manage their businesses. That's what I'm seeing that I have to do, because I know that personally, I'm not interested in all of those roles at one time. I'm not interested in doing them per se, but just getting a visibility into what they do, understanding their challenges and how they've navigated well or poorly helps me. But just the years of experience is just, it's not possible for everyone who's really trying to navigate and getting that business aspect. For me, it's really meeting people like Olivia and Kate and Chris and Renee, people who are willing to pour, because literally I have faced what you've mentioned, Chris, where there are women who are in leadership roles and I am a super minority, double click, I'm going to use that word, right? People just, people are closed off, they don't make time, in my experience, unless you approach them. And that's what I have to do, because I know that there's a world of experience out there and there's a lot of people who are willing to share. It's just about me finding the right person who's willing to transfer knowledge, not because of a check mark, right? Because of the fact that they care, right?
Going back to what both Kate and Olivia said, it's like, look, we're mentoring people on a regular basis. You hit something that I hadn't ever formalized. And I think some people, it's just done partly by instinct, which is, if I don't know a skill set, I'm just going to go find somebody who doesn't ask them like, hey, what do I? And I think to me, I don't have to know everything about it, but I need to know how that tool works. I need to know where it fits in the environment. I need to know, Olivia, Kate, do me a favor, give me some thoughts on that one. Because I think we're all in that same boat. We've all had an amazing amount of varied experience, but we don't know everything. But to me, it's always about who do we know that we can ask. Give me thoughts on some of that, if you don't mind.
So for me, my network of friends, and by the way, I make friends at every job and take them with, and every volunteer organization I work with, and just people that reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I make friends all the time. And part of those relationships, is when you reach out, it's, when you make a LinkedIn connection, you know, for some people you can just do fast, but some people you can say why you're making the connection. And in doing that, it's like I reach out to CISOs all the time because I'm trying to build a network of CISOs. But I have friends in other professions, and in terms of technical skills, you know, here's the thing. I used to be an Oracle administrator. I've got some technical chops, but there are a lot of things that just aren't my expertise. So I know people that are getting into Kubernetes, because guess what? In my role right now, I don't need those skills, but there's going to be a day that I do. So part of it is making sure you keep that network of people. And the other thing is, watching podcasts and webinars and taking classes. I mean, Chris, I love the stuff that Chris comes out with because it makes me think about the things that I need to think about.
There's two, and everything Kate said, I want to add on to that because that was very valuable. What you have, Niles, is fantastic, and there's two traits that a good CISO, an effective CISO, has. And the first one is there's a constant curiosity, inquisitive about everything. And the way to get that inherently inbred into you, if you struggle with it, and everybody can get it, is, you know, you look at yourself, just look at normal everyday things. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? Or why is this lipstick open this way, but doesn't turn the other way? So you kind of, and go, well, why would that be? And then if you don't know the answer, figure it out, go reach out to somebody who might. So it's this constant interest. And because you become this nosy Parker, which I like to call it, I'm a nosy neighbor at work. I like to hear random stuff that HR is saying. I'm like, oh, what? You're doing what? You know, you're giving access before they sign something. This is constant. You have to be this nosy neighbor.
Yes.
Let me, I want to hear what's going on. You know, and the second thing is as Renee was saying, you have to understand the impact. And that was great advice what that CIO or CTO told you, where if you put in something, there is an effect on the company as a whole. You know, and it goes from large to whole and down the road. And just an easy way to start doing that in your real life is just to, you know, as you recognize this is a massive world. You're one person of billions of people. So things that you do in your daily life, how do those next impact the rest of your day? And so start small like that. And then how did Biden's speech, randomly, how did Biden's speech impact people who live in Peru? So you start thinking through these steps, and then you'll start getting this skill of being able to go, if I do A, it's going to cause A or AB or AC, which is not good. So how do we avoid going to AC and make sure we go to AA? Well, okay, bad example. Go to AB. So you can start in your personal life getting these skills that may not be on YouTube or available to learn, but start thinking like this in your everyday life, and then you'll start being able to go see it in the workplace, and you'll understand why the CEO said what they said at this time, and you start realizing, okay, they looked ahead at the effect of what they were going to say, and you start to recognize that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wanted to add a point about what Niles talks about with the mentorship and looking for people. So Chris, you know, you took the part where she said, Renal said, you know, if there's something that I don't know, I'm going to go find a person who has that skill set, and then, you know, knocking on the doors to find the mentor. And I think that's just so important, like finding the person who, or people who you look up to, who you want to be at that next level. There's CISOs, Kate, Olivia, Naomi, you know, I could name 100 people that's like, I want to be in this, I want to be with these, I want to be like these women. These are the types of people that I would want to, you know, to ask questions of and ask and try to understand what it's like being in their different organizations, and then seeing where they fit in, because, you know, Kate's organization is different from Olivia's as well as all others, right? And where they started, what the first CISO role they got into is, because that's also very important too. Like the stepping stone, going from individual contributor to, or maybe not individual contributor, but director or senior tech lead or something like that, depending on the company, architect, whatever, into the role. And I'm speaking specifically with Niles and her technologies, all the technical background, which is fantastic. Hearing from them, technical people like moved up and went into the role. Like, okay, what did you do? Did you have to go get an MBA? Did you, take additional courses? What types of, finding the person who has your similar type of a path and finding out how they got there is also a great way. And I've seen people very, very open to giving back and sharing. I mean, I feel like there's so many CISOs and so many that want to give back. So many that are, begging. I mean, we have this podcast and people are like, can I come on? Can I come on? I want to talk about I want to talk about what I did. I want to how I got there. And there's so many people that want to share their story to inspire the next generation of leaders. So I just think it's so important to have the mentor.
The other thing, I'll add two things onto that. One, that's part of the reason for joining up with the new company that I'm hanging out with, is because they've asked me to basically build a CISO community. Their criteria is, as much as we love the Fortune 2000s, we really don't want to deal with them. We want the CISO community to be for the smaller businesses. And I'm like, yes, I'm looking forward to that, because I'm going to be bringing everybody along. And that's the whole logic, because again, it's that bringing up. Well, we got the Tinkerers group. The other thing I want to check on this one, part of the reason, Bridges in Tech is a podcast I go hang out on. It'll be this afternoon, Wednesday afternoons. Joanna Uda runs it. She's amazing, and there's a bunch of others. Imara's there, a whole bunch of others. I love it because it's an entirely different viewpoint. It is built for women it is basically built for women in color in the industry, and I freaking love it because I get to sit back. I get to help out and give my ideas, but I get to sit back and listen. I get to learn areas, thoughts, feelings, ideas, and challenges I had either not heard of before, or they were sitting over here and I didn't fully realize it. So for me, one of the biggest things for a CISO, and in fact, anybody in freaking leadership, is get the hell out of your comfort zone. Somebody had a comment in here when they were talking about, there was a comment that somebody actually had in the questions when they were like, oh, it was all about diversity and why are we still having these conversations? I'm like, we're freaking having them because they need to be had. They're uncomfortable and I don't care. They've got to be in the open. And I think we need more and more of that. The more we recognize it, the more we can tackle it, the more we can do with it. All right, soft skills. Actually, that goes back. So again, a bunch of questions in here. How do you learn soft skills? How do we learn to collaborate, communicate, cooperate, coordinate? How do we do this? There seems to be no formal, everybody's looking for a CISSP or a checkbox. How do we teach people? How do people learn those soft skills? And actually, to Renee, how many of the companies are actually looking for those soft skills rather than just an MBA tick or a CISSP tick or a CISO tick or whatever the heck's out there these days?
I mean, almost all. And I get that at every level of a position. Like it goes all the way down. So I'm in the middle of working in this lead role right now, like a manager, and the leader wants someone who has the soft skills, that can lead, is not going to ruffle feathers, is not going to, go pissing off some other department or whatever, to be able to influence without authority. They're not going to have a whole team of people. You have to be able to go over and talk to marketing and see, okay, how is this going to impact you? Those, the organizations, almost all of them, for almost every role, quite frankly, this is what they're looking for. So it's not only, you can't be like a real, in most places, you cannot be an asshole. Like you can't be that guy that's like super, a woman, super duper smart, and you know everything and it's great, but you are gonna, be like a bull in a china shop and just piss everybody else off and, completely disrupt the whole team. It doesn't work like that. So
Sorry,
go ahead, Kate, or Olivia, go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry to interrupted you there. So to Renee's point, to be a CISO, you have to get people to do things that they don't want to do. In fact, they really don't want to do it. You really think DevOps, wants to hold back until you do your security review of the code before they launch it into AWS? You really think they're like waiting by the phone? I mean, no. So you have to, do you really think anybody wants to do SOX compliance? So you have to learn how to persuade and influence. So there are courses on that: persuasion, influence, negotiation. Everything is. You can say something is the most important thing on the planet to do for security, but until you persuade them that it is, it's not. And the other thing is, I have a book that everyone has to read. This is the, oh, you want me to type it?
Yep. No, give me the book.
So,
give me the, I'm going to put it in the thing if you don't mind.
All right. Well, I'm going to say it first and then I'll type it. How to Make Friends and Influence People. Now, this book was written back in like 1925. It is sexist. It is chauvinistic. Women are working at home. They're not working. Okay. Get over all that. Okay. This book is the most critical book, the best book I've read or listened to, that will tell you what exactly you need to do to get along with people. Okay, so definitely go get it. Overlook the sexism, okay? But it is the most beneficial book. And I'll put the, oh, thank you, you typed it for me. How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Yep. There was another book, and I can't remember. It talks about the bus. It's The Right Seat on the Bus, and for the life of me, I can remember the name of it for a second. I'll figure it out in a second. I remember reading that one years ago, and that I was told about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this one's a good one. So actually, that would be awesome. If you don't mind, I might hit each of you up afterwards for a reading list, if you don't mind, about things that have helped you in as we go through things. Actually, I'd love that if you don't mind. I might hit each of you up for a reading list.
Yeah, because for me, Robin Dreek's books, It's Not All About Me, was actually a major help, because part of it is building trust relationships. And because, so there's two things. One, you do need executive management sponsorship and backing, because without that, you're not going to get anywhere. But that being said, you need to understand the business and communicate with them and establish that trust. So on the days that you have to come in and say, sorry guys, we have to do this, there isn't a big fight and there isn't a big push, because you've done things to help them and you've listened to what it is that they need, and you've helped drive operational efficiencies and overcome things that other people put in place so they can do their jobs better. So that when you come in and say, sorry guys, we really have to do this, they'll do it. And it is not, it's not the worst day in their life.
That's a huge one. I just realized we're running low on time, like really low on time. That's a huge one, because to me, that's the negotiation skills. Mm-hmm. You're coming in, not just as a CISO in a business, you've almost got to have really good negotiation skills. Because I got to be honest, somebody said about the 7th CISO, which is the arsehole. I've been that way before. I've had to walk in and go, I'm not nice and we have to get shit done. I've been the post-breach CISO. I'm like, I'm not going to be nice to you. We've got to get shit done and you don't have much time to do it. Let's get on with it. Arsehole CISO. All right, I apologize. I would love some wrap-up comments. I really want to keep this going for like another hour, but everybody, I have to be respectful and all those good things. Can we do this again, please? I'm going to ask each of you now, like live on air, and I apologize in advance. I would love to have each of you back on this again. We need to do this again. This is so fucking needed, and I've loved this. And we've got like about 100 questions that we haven't hit. So I would love to invite you back all on this again, please. Like seriously, please. Everybody up for it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
All right. Final comments, if you don't mind, for part 1 of this. Niles, I'm going to lead off with you, if you don't mind.
I do want to say thank you, ladies, for first of all showing up on the show, and then some of the works that you guys are already doing and reaching out to people that are coming in from underneath you. We need you guys. Thank you so much for that. Chris, thank you for pulling me into this discussion. I really wanted to have the conversation. I actually met him at Bridges in Tech, which is a diverse group of people talking about the challenges that people are experiencing in the tech world. So definitely thank you. I look forward to networking with every single one of you.
Thank you, Renee.
Yes, thank you, obviously, for having me. And this is such an exciting conversation. And I love that. I love just the diversity of thought, right? So all of us coming in from different angles is always so important. And, to the people who want to be CISOs, we need more people we need more. we need more women, we need more people, just in general, you know. So folks that are coming up, definitely, you know, don't look at it and say, I don't want to do it. Just realize, to Olivia's point earlier, you know, the type of person that you are, because I have heard from leaders that said, you know, I tried to give this person a shot, or, you know, I brought them over. I'm thinking of a story, and I can't remember the CISO I spoke with, but she brought a person over actually from audit, and, you know, it didn't work out because he couldn't, you know, when the fire was, you know, and it was getting really hot, he's like, I can't handle this. So understanding the type of person that you are. One of my favorite books is Mastery by Robert Greene, because you really kind of understand it does. And I also have a couple of other like assessments and things like that, because I'm a huge fan of people understanding who they are, and then from there leaning to your strengths. So leaning to where you want to go. So excited to be here, happy to come back again, and everybody come to this is a shameless plug. Breaking Into Cybersecurity CISO Thursdays. We have Cesos coming on every single Thursday with James Azar and Naomi Buckwalter, and we usually have various guests, and we have a blast on there. Olivia's been on there, so
Yeah.
I'm on a podcast this afternoon with James. I just supplied. He's freaking.
He's everywhere.
I love him. He's awesome. All right, I'm going to shut up at this point. Kate, if you wouldn't mind, final words.
Well, first of all, Chris, thanks for inviting me, and thanks for having all of these wonderful women. It is great to be on a panel with women. It really is. And I so appreciate it. And here's the thing, reach out. I mean, there are a lot of women in information security that help other women, but we also help men. I'm sorry, I help men and women, because there are not enough people in information security, and I've brought in people from other professions, and guess what? It doesn't matter what your background is, so long as you can think and question and learn the way Olivia was talking about earlier. It is that curiosity that really helps people in information security, and it is that excitement and living with chaos. And by the way, if you've got ADHD or enjoy sleep deprivation, this is the profession for you, okay? So, and by the way, if you've got small infants, actually a great job and profession to get into, because you're already awake, okay? So really, it's fun.
Well, that, and I'll add to that, my daughter has been great, because if I can't explain it to her in a way that she understands, there's no way I'm going to explain it to leadership or board of directors. And that's not a cut on them, but if I can't talk about it in a plain, simple language, there's no way I'm going to be able to explain it. So yeah, I'm with you on the kids one, although the other challenges I'm not so good on. Olivia, please take us away.
I will keep mine short for once, because I tend to ramble, as we all know at this point. This has been so much fun. Thank you, Chris, for giving me and the rest of us a voice. What I'm going to say is I would love to talk about on the next time, imposter syndrome.
Ooh.
You need to get over it, and it's going to hold you back. And it is the worst thing you can do for your career. Everyone has it. It's devastating. Get over it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm going to be a participant in that one.
Yeah,
I can't wait for the next series.
Billy Boatwright's book.
Imposter syndrome. And I'm like, get over it.
Yeah, I know. We'll have that conversation, definitely.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you to each and every one of you, to everybody that's been listening to the comments, the conversations, the questions, all of you. Thank you so very, very much. I'm looking forward to doing this again. We will set it up, we will plan it, and we will do it. Renee, Niles, Olivia, Kate, thank you very much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Everybody listening, take care. Otherwise, a webinar. Have a good one. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.